You'd think being deployed in a war zone would be the scariest part of my life. But nothing compares to the moment I realized my wife had replaced me, while I was still fighting for our country. I filed for divorce. Please don't contact me again. That was the entire message. No explanation, no emotion, just a digital bullet straight through my chest. My name's Chris Walker. I'm a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army, 12 years in. I've served on 4 tours, dodged bullets, lost friends. But nothing hit me like that one-line email from Emma. I should have seen it coming. A few months before my deployment, the distance between us wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. She pulled away like someone already planning an escape. And instead of confronting her, I started preparing. I separated our accounts quietly, moved important documents into a safe deposit box, even installed cameras in the house she never knew. I didn't want to believe she'd betray me, but I couldn't ignore the gut feeling. Then I saw the picture. My buddy back home sent it. Some guy, maybe late 30s, smug grin, lounging in my recliner, holding our dog, wearing my hoodie, living my life. And that's when I knew she wasn't ready for what came next. I didn't react. I didn't reply. I didn't even call her. That would have given her too much power. Let her think she still had control over me. Instead, I got quiet, focused. If there's one thing the Army teaches you, it's how to act under pressure without letting emotion cloud your mission. I started collecting every transaction from our joint accounts, every email, every text, every recorded phone call I could access. I still had remote access to the cameras I installed. She must have forgotten or never realized they uploaded to a private server. And what I saw made my blood run cold. They were laughing, drinking, living in my house like I'd never existed. She'd even replaced the photos on the wall. The wedding shots? Gone. My medals? Packed away. And in their place, beach selfies, champagne dinners, cozy couch shots. It was like I'd been erased. But here's the thing about people who get too comfortable. They get sloppy. And one night, I caught something I knew would be the beginning of the end for both of them. The guy, Jason, picked up an envelope from the kitchen counter and said, "These checks are still coming in from the VA. He's not even dead. Should we tell someone?" Emma just laughed. "I'll stop cashing them once the lawyers catch up. Besides, what are they gonna do? Arrest a military wife?" She had no idea I just heard everything. And I hit record. The moment I hit record, something in me clicked into place. Not rage, not heartbreak, focus. Emma always saw me as the soldier, the guy who followed orders. She forgot that I'd spent years training in intelligence, surveillance, strategy. I didn't just survive war zones, I navigated them, quietly, precisely, without leaving a trace. And now I was turning all of that on her. I clipped the audio, labeled it, and uploaded it to my private drive. I wasn't going to the police. Not yet. People like Emma know how to play the victim. I needed more, and I needed her to walk into every trap without realizing she was being watched. That weekend, I noticed something strange on the feed. Jason was gone. Just Emma, alone in the kitchen, pacing, crying. Then she made a call. Her voice was trembling. "Hey. Yeah, I think I messed up. He's going to find out. I mean, I know he will eventually, but if he already knows..." Silence. "I don't know what he'll do. Chris isn't like other guys." Damn right I wasn't. She hung up, grabbed a duffel bag, and started rifling through drawers, looking for passports, documents, cash. I watched her dump our wedding album in the trash. Then she froze, looked directly at the living room camera, the one hidden in the smoke detector, and smiled. "I know you're watching, Chris." That smile she gave the camera? It wasn't smug. It was scared, forced, like she was bluffing, hoping I'd blink first. But I didn't. Emma didn't know where I was or when I'd be home. She didn't know what I'd seen or what I had on her, and that terrified her more than she wanted to admit. I stayed quiet for days after that. No emails, no texts, just surveillance. And in that silence, she started to unravel. She called my mom sobbing, claimed she didn't know what went wrong, that I'd abandoned her, said Jason was just a friend who helped her cope. My mom? She hung up on her. That same night, Jason came back. They argued. Loud. I couldn't catch every word. But I heard enough. You told me he wouldn't fight it. That he was gone for good. Jason yelled. Now there are cameras. He's got everything. Doesn't he? She didn't deny it. Just started crying. I don't know what he's planning. Neither of them did. They had no clue that I'd already hired a lawyer. A damn good one, a guy who specialized in military divorce fraud. We gathered every bank statement, every VA benefits withdrawal, every fake signature she'd used. But the most damning piece? Jason. He wasn't just some guy. He had a record. I ran a quiet check, 2 priors for identity theft and assault. She picked a con man to replace me. Perfect. Because now they weren't just immoral, they were criminal. And I was going to make sure the world knew it. The moment I found Jason's criminal record, it was like striking oil. Not only had Emma drained our joint accounts, but she'd funneled some of that money straight to a felon living under my roof. And that was all I needed to turn a civil divorce into something far more devastating. My lawyer moved fast. He filed an injunction on the house, froze all marital assets before she could bury what she hadn't already spent. We filed a motion to void the quitclaim deed she'd forged to take the house in her name. And then we waited. I didn't tell her anything. I let her play house while the walls silently closed in. Surveillance footage check. Audio clips check. Bank trails check. Everything documented, timestamped, admissible. And then, the cherry on top, a clip from the night Jason got drunk and started bragging. He was sitting at my dining table, slurring. You know, if this goes south, I'll just take what I can and disappear. I've done it before. He laughed. Emma laughed too. But that laugh turned into a pause. Then she asked, wait, what do you mean, done it before? Silence. Jason leaned in. Babe, you didn't think this was the first time, did you? Her face. The confusion. The doubt. The fear. I downloaded that footage. Forwarded it to my lawyer. That clip alone, enough to prove she put a known fraudster in contact with military funds. She was about to find out just how expensive her little love story was going to be. 2 days later, she got the first letter. Certified mail. Thick envelope. My lawyer's signature stamped on the front. I watched on camera as she stood at the kitchen counter, tore it open, and started reading. Her expression shifted like a slow-motion car crash, confusion, then panic, then sheer disbelief. She sat down, grabbed her phone, called someone. Jason, he lawyered up. He's freezing the house, he's saying the deed's fake. Her voice was cracking now. No, I don't know how he found out. He's not even supposed to be in the country yet. Jason wasn't nearly as composed this time. Do you think he's watching us right now? She didn't answer. But I did silently from 6,000 miles away. The next few days were chaos. She met with a cheap local attorney, tried to explain away the funds, the forged paperwork, Jason's presence. But my legal team had already filed federal fraud charges tied to the misuse of VA benefits. That meant jail time was a real possibility, not just for her, but for him. And it worked. Jason started unraveling. He disappeared for 2 days. When he came back, he was drunk, violent. Smashed a lamp in the living room. Screamed at her on camera, every word recorded. And then he said something I hadn't even expected. I'm not going down for you. You set this up. You wanted the money, you said he'd never fight back. Emma's hands were shaking. She finally realized she wasn't in control anymore. She was in free fall. And I was the one who cut the cord. The next time Jason left the house, he never came back. Emma sat on the porch for hours that night, just staring at the driveway like he might roll up in that rusted truck of his. But I knew better. Jason wasn't running errands. He was running scared. Turns out when you've got 2 active warrants in 2 different states and your face ends up on a legal filing tied to federal fraud, you disappear fast. Meanwhile, Emma was unraveling in real time. No money. No lawyer who'd touch her after learning the details. And worse, the house wasn't hers anymore. The court issued an emergency stay. Until the forged documents were reviewed, the deed transfer was null, which meant she had no legal right to stay there. That same day, she got served the eviction notice. I watched as the officer handed it to her on our front step. She didn't even argue. Just stood there, barefoot in my hoodie, looking like someone who'd finally realized the dream life she built on betrayal was never hers to keep. But I wasn't done. Because this wasn't just about money, or the house, or what she did to me. It was about the lie she told herself that I'd never come back. That I wouldn't fight. That I'd just disappear like a ghost and let her rewrite the story. She forgot something critical. I don't back down. Not in war. Not in marriage. And sure as hell not in betrayal. Emma had 72 hours to vacate the property. She didn't pack right away. She wandered from room to room like a ghost in a haunted house. Every corner reminded her of what she'd thrown away. Our wedding photo was still in the trash under the sink. She didn't bother picking it up. I could have cut the feed by then. I had what I needed, more than enough evidence, more than enough justice. But I wanted to see it. The moment it hit her. The moment she understood what she'd done. That moment came on the second night. She sat on the edge of the bed, my side of the bed, holding a photo of me in uniform. One she must have found in a drawer she'd forgotten to ransack. And she cried. I don't mean fake tears. I mean shoulders shaking, hands over her face, guttural, ugly crying. The kind that only comes when regret eats you alive. And still, I didn't feel pity. I felt closure. She tried calling me 3 times that night. I didn't answer. The 4th time, she left a voicemail. Chris, I made a mistake. I know you probably hate me, but I didn't know it would go this far. Jason's gone. I'm scared. Please, just talk to me. I replayed that message once. Then I deleted it. She had 24 hours left in that house. And the best part? She still didn't know I was landing back in the States the next morning. Touching down on American soil felt different this time. It wasn't the jet lag or the smell of terminal coffee, it was the stillness in my chest. The kind that comes when every piece of the plan is right where it should be. I didn't go straight home. I stayed in a hotel a few towns over, close enough to act but far enough to stay invisible. Let her finish packing. Let her stew in that silence she was so eager to create when she sent that one-line email. The cameras were still rolling. Emma had gone into full breakdown mode. Trash bags filled with clothes, random boxes labeled in Sharpie, furniture she didn't bother to clean. She'd started talking to herself, narrating her guilt like some twisted confessional. I should have waited. Should have just talked to him. I thought he was done with me. No, Emma. I was done pretending you still loved me. That night, she made one final call to my lawyer. She tried bargaining. Offered to walk away from the house if we could just keep the civil. Said she didn't want things to get uglier. My lawyer said exactly what I wanted him to. That's not up to me. Chris is back. And he'll be handling things from here. She didn't say anything. Just hung up. I watched her slump to the floor like a puppet whose strings had finally been cut. And in less than 12 hours, she'd be handing me my keys. Not because I begged for them back, but because she had no choice. She was standing on the porch when I pulled up. Hoodie, sunglasses, arms crossed like a kid waiting for a punishment she already knew was coming. She didn't recognize the rental car. Didn't recognize me either, not at first. I stepped out, uniform clean, medals in a case tucked under one arm. Not to show off. Just to remind her. You don't erase men like me. When her eyes locked on mine, I saw everything hit at once, guilt, shame, fear, and something she couldn't hide anymore, defeat. She didn't speak. Just walked to the door, unlocked it, and stepped aside. Keys are on the counter, she mumbled. I walked past her, slow and steady. Not a word. Inside, the house was hollow. Bare walls. Boxes still scattered. The silence screamed louder than anything she could have said. I made a slow sweep of the place. Kitchen. Bedroom. Living room. She hadn't even vacuumed. But I didn't care. I wasn't here to reclaim furniture. I was reclaiming my peace. She followed me into the kitchen, chewing her lip. I know you hate me, she said. I don't blame you. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I turned to face her finally. You didn't just cheat on me, Emma. You erased me. Replaced me. Looted everything while I was bleeding in a desert for you. She flinched. And I stepped past her without another word. Sometimes revenge isn't about screaming. It's about watching them crumble in the silence they created. Emma left without another word. No hug, no plea, no dramatic tears this time. Just the slow shuffle of her feet down the porch steps and the distant rattle of her trunk slamming shut. I stood in the doorway long after her car disappeared. The house felt like a crime scene, not because of blood, but because of everything she tried to kill while I was gone. Trust, love, stability. But justice wasn't finished. Jason had resurfaced and he'd made a mistake. He showed up at his cousin's place back in Kentucky, trying to lay low. But my lawyer had already flagged his name on multiple databases. When he tried to use a fake ID to open a new bank account, it triggered an alert. The police picked him up that night. Fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and now receiving stolen military benefits. The best part? Emma had signed off on every transfer to him, thinking no one would ever connect the dots. She was going to court. Not for cheating. For federal crimes. My lawyer called that morning. You've got her on paper, Chris. She's looking at charges. She might flip on him to save herself. I smiled for the first time in months. Because betrayal hurts. But accountability? That heals. The courthouse smelled like old paper and fresh regret. Emma sat 2 rows ahead of me, her hair pulled back, makeup minimal, probably her lawyer's idea to make her look innocent. But nothing could soften what she'd done. Not to me. Not to the system. Not to herself. Jason sat at the defense table, cuffed, jaw clenched. He didn't look at her once. The prosecution laid everything out, the forged deed, the fraudulent VA deposits, the footage of Jason bragging while she laughed, the audio of her admitting she knew exactly what they were doing. And then they played the voicemail she left me. That weak, desperate voice, pleading for a second chance. Emma buried her face in her hands. She couldn't even watch. But I did. I watched every second. Because this wasn't just a legal win, this was validation. For every night I'd spent in sandstorms thinking of her. For every hour of silence. For every lie she built while I bled overseas. When it was over, her lawyer requested a plea deal. She'd flip on Jason. Testify against him. In return, she'd get probation and restitution instead of jail time. The judge leaned forward. Do you accept responsibility for your role in this, Ms. Walker? She nodded, voice shaking. Yes, Your Honor. I destroyed everything good in my life, and I thought he'd never come back. I stood outside the courtroom after the verdict, staring at the sky. I had come back. Just not the man she remembered. The house was mine again. But it didn't feel like home. Not yet. I spent the first few days tearing down the remnants of what she left behind. The wine-stained couch. The cheap wall art. The mattress we used to share. Gone. I repainted the walls myself. Replaced the photos with new ones, not of people, just moments. A sunrise I caught on my last patrol. A coffee shop in Germany where I once laughed with strangers. Things that reminded me who I really was before she tried to rewrite me. The VA benefits were reinstated. Jason pled guilty, took a deal, and went to prison. Emma kept her freedom but lost everything else. She sent me a letter. Not an email. A handwritten letter. Said she was in therapy. Said she wakes up every night expecting to see military boots by the door and feels sick when she remembers they're gone for good. She didn't ask for forgiveness. Smart move. I didn't write back. Because forgiveness isn't something you ask for. It's something you earn. And she hasn't. A few months passed. Quiet ones. I started sleeping again. Not perfectly, the war still lingers in my bones, but the nightmares aren't about Emma anymore. They're about sand, smoke, and silence. The kind I trained for. The kind I survived. I met with other vets. Joined a group. Not the type that sits in a circle and shares, more like hiking trails, splitting wood, fixing engines. The kind of therapy that doesn't ask you to speak until you're ready. And I wasn't angry anymore. Not at her. Not even at him. They did what they did. And I responded the only way I knew how, methodically. Strategically. Decisively. That's what peace really is, not the absence of pain, but the presence of clarity. I won't pretend I'm whole. I'm not. Betrayal like that leaves a permanent mark. But I'm no longer bleeding from it. Just scarred. And scars don't define you. They remind you that you fought back and survived. I never raised my voice. Never threw a punch. Never sent a threatening message. That's not how you win wars, and it's not how you win justice. I let the truth speak. And it roared. Jason is serving a 5-year sentence. Fraud. Identity theft. Federal theft of veteran benefits. Emma? She'll spend the next decade digging herself out of debt. Restitution, court costs, ruined credit, and a name blacklisted from every clearance or government opportunity. Her new life? A shadow of the one she burned. And me? I got my house back. My name. My dignity. And a reputation that didn't just survive, it grew stronger. People in town heard. Quietly, respectfully. Some shook my hand at the store. One guy, a retired Marine, just nodded once, like he knew exactly what went down without needing to ask. I didn't need revenge that screamed. I just needed her to know I was never weak. That I saw everything. Heard everything. Remembered everything. And still stayed 3 steps ahead. Because in the end, she taught me something. You don't destroy a man like me with betrayal. You build him.